Have you ever felt uneasy around someone without knowing exactly why? Nothing dramatic happened. They didn't raise their voice or show hostility. Yet something in you stayed alert, as if your instincts were quietly pulling the brake. Dangerous people rarely arrive as monsters. They don't look violent at first. More often, they hide behind normal conversations, polite smiles, and familiar routines. That is what makes them dangerous. Seneca warned us long ago. We suffer more in imagination than in reality, but ignoring reality is far worse. Stoic philosophy was never about fear. It was about seeing clearly before damage is done. In this video, you'll learn 10 evident signs of a dangerous person near you. No vague theories, no labels, only observable behaviors you can recognize in real life, at work, and in relationships. More importantly, you'll learn how to protect your mind, your boundaries, and your peace using Stoic principles. Stay until the end. The last sign is the one most people regret ignoring. Sign 1. They constantly cross your boundaries. This is the first sign for a reason, because men understand respect instinctively, and nothing reveals danger faster than someone who refuses to respect your limits. It rarely starts big. At first, it feels harmless. A joke you didn't like, a request you already declined, brought up again with a smile, a subtle push after you clearly said no. Dangerous people don't hear no as a boundary. They hear it as the beginning of a negotiation. They test you in small ways to see how much resistance you'll offer. They tease when you express discomfort, framing it as humor so you look too sensitive if you push back. They rephrase your refusal, pressure you again later, or pretend they misunderstood you. This is not confidence, it's entitlement. From a Stoic perspective, boundaries are not emotional reactions. They are expressions of self-respect. Marcus Aurelius reminded us that self-command is the foundation of dignity. If you cannot protect your own limits, someone else will gladly use them. Pay attention to the pattern, not the excuse, not the charm, not the apology that follows. A dangerous person will cross one small boundary today so they can step over a bigger one tomorrow. And if you tolerate the small violation, you silently give permission for the next. Here is the Stoic mistake many men make. They explain too much. They justify their boundaries. They try to sound reasonable. But boundaries don't require debate. The Stoic response is simple, calm, and firm. You withdraw access. That may mean fewer conversations, less availability, no emotional engagement, no long explanations designed to make them understand. Epictetus was clear. If someone treats what is not theirs as if it were theirs, the problem is not persuasion, it's access. Respect is not negotiated. It is observed. If someone repeatedly crosses your boundaries, believe what their behavior is telling you. Then act accordingly. Self-respect is not loud, it is decisive. Sign 2. They never take responsibility, only control the narrative. This sign is especially dangerous because it hides behind intelligence and charm, and it shows up most often at work and in close relationships. A dangerous person rarely says, "I was wrong." Instead, there is always a reasonable explanation, a misunderstanding, bad timing, someone else who pushed them into it. Nothing is ever truly their fault. When something goes wrong, watch what happens next. They don't look inward. They look for a story that protects their image. They shift responsibility quietly. They reframe events to make themselves appear misunderstood or unfairly treated. Over time, they position themselves as the victim, even when others are cleaning up the damage. This is not accountability. It is narrative control. In the workplace, this person survives by staying just plausible enough. Projects fail, but somehow it's always the team. Deadlines were missed, but the conditions were impossible. Conflicts arise, but they were attacked first. In relationships, the pattern is the same. You end up apologizing for things you didn't cause. You question your memory. You feel the need to defend facts that once felt obvious. Stoic philosophy offers a sharp lens here. If it's not under your control, don't give it power. You cannot force someone to take responsibility, but you can choose how much influence their story has over you. Do not argue the narrative. That's the trap. Dangerous people want debate because debate keeps you engaged inside their version of events. They don't need to convince everyone, just enough people to stay protected. The Stoic response is observation, not confrontation. Watch patterns over time. Who apologizes? Who adjusts behavior? Who repeats the same explanation after the same outcome? Facts don't need defending. Patterns reveal themselves. When someone consistently avoids responsibility, believe what that pattern is telling you. Then reduce their power over your time, trust, and emotional energy. Clarity begins when you stop fighting stories and start reading behavior. Sign 3. They enjoy watching you doubt yourself. This sign is subtle, and that's exactly why it's so dangerous. It doesn't look like open hostility. It looks like advice, concern, honesty. At first, their feedback seems helpful. They correct you. They point out flaws. They say things like, "I'm just being real with you." But slowly, something changes. Their comments don't build you. They shrink you. They give feedback that always lands a little too deep. Compliments that come with conditions. Support that disappears the moment you show confidence. You did well, but don't get ahead of yourself. You're good at this, compared to most people. I'm only saying this because I care. This is not guidance. It's calibration. Dangerous people like this don't want you broken. They want you to be uncertain, because a man who doubts himself is easier to influence, easier to lead, easier to keep just slightly below his own potential. Pay attention to how you feel after interacting with them. Not immediately, but later. Do you replay their words in your head? Do you second-guess decisions you once made with confidence? Do you feel the urge to prove yourself to them? That is the signal. This form of manipulation is quiet. It doesn't shout, it whispers. And over time, it trains you to look outward for validation instead of inward for judgment. Stoic philosophy cuts through this cleanly. Your self-worth does not come from approval. It comes from character and action. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that other people's opinions are external events. They are not yours to control, and therefore, they are not yours to carry. The Stoic response is not anger, it is separation. You mentally detach your value from their reactions. You stop explaining yourself. You stop seeking their approval. You stop adjusting your behavior to earn a better response. Instead, you measure yourself against your own standards, your effort, your integrity, your consistency. When someone seems energized by your self-doubt, distance becomes protection. Not because you are weak, but because clarity is strength. A man who trusts his own judgment cannot be quietly dismantled. Sign 4. Their words and actions rarely match. This sign exposes itself over time, not in a single moment. At first, everything sounds right. They say the right things. They make promises easily. They speak with confidence about what they will do. But when it's time to act, something is always missing. They talk about loyalty, yet disappear when support is needed. They speak about honesty, yet avoid direct answers. They promise change, commitment, or effort, but the behavior never fully arrives. What you get instead are explanations. They explain why now wasn't the right moment. Why were the circumstances unusual? Why next time will be different? And if you confront the inconsistency, the story shifts. Suddenly, that promise wasn't a promise. You misunderstood. You're being too strict. You're remembering it wrong. This is not confusion. It is avoidance. Dangerous people survive by staying just vague enough to deny accountability while sounding sincere enough to keep access. They rely on words because words are flexible. Actions are not. In professional environments, this looks like leaders who inspire but never deliver, colleagues who commit in meetings and vanish afterward, managers who speak about values but reward the opposite. In personal relationships, it's even more damaging. You wait, you hope, you adjust your expectations, telling yourself they mean well. But your nervous system knows better. Stoic philosophy gives a simple, brutal rule here. Trust patterns, not promises. Marcus Aurelius warned against being impressed by speech alone. Character is revealed by repeated behavior under pressure, not by well-crafted intentions. Words are cheap because they cost nothing to say. Patterns are expensive because they require consistency. The Stoic response is not confrontation, it's clarity. You stop arguing about what was said. You stop replaying conversations. You stop asking for reassurance. Instead, you observe. What happens repeatedly? What changes and what never does? What effort shows up without being announced? When words and actions don't align, believe the actions. Every time. Reducing trust is not cruelty, it is self-respect. A man who aligns his expectations with reality cannot be manipulated by future promises. He doesn't chase explanations. He adjusts access. Consistency is the language of integrity. Anything else is noise. Sign 5. They disrespect others when they think no one is watching. This sign reveals who someone truly is when the mask slips. Not in public speeches, not in first impressions, but in moments they believe it doesn't matter. Watch how they treat people who cannot offer them anything. The waiter who made a mistake. The customer service worker followed the policy. The janitor, the assistant, the intern, the driver. Do they show patience or irritation? Do they speak with basic respect or quiet contempt? Dangerous people often behave well when status is on the line. They are polite to those above them, careful with those who can influence their future. But when they believe no consequences exist, something else appears. A sharp tone, a dismissive look, a joke at someone else's expense, a sense of superiority that leaks out in small ways. They may justify it as humor, as stress, as honesty. But these moments are not accidents. They are disclosures. The Stoics understood this deeply. Character is not proven in controlled environments. It reveals itself when attention drops and restraint relaxes. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself to observe how people behave in trivial situations, because that is where habit lives. Not in dramatic gestures, but in repeated, unnoticed choices. Someone who disrespects the weak does not lack manners. They lack restraint. And restraint is what keeps power from becoming abuse. In relationships, this sign matters more than words of affection. If someone speaks gently to you but degrades others, you are not seeing kindness. You are seeing selective control. Given time, that same contempt will find a new target. The Stoic response is quiet awareness. You do not need to confront them. You do not need to correct them. You simply take note. How someone treats those beneath them socially is how they think about human value. And values do not change under pressure. They intensify. A man who understands this protects himself by choosing proximity carefully. He does not confuse charm with character. He does not mistake politeness for virtue. Respect is not situational. It is consistent. When someone shows you who they are in unguarded moments, believe them. Sign 6. They feed on drama and conflict. This sign is exhausting because it never rests. Wherever they go, tension follows. Wherever they are, there is always a problem. There is always drama. Someone wronged them. Someone disrespected them. Someone is plotting, sabotaging, or betraying them. At first, you may feel sympathy. You listen, you support, You take their side. But over time, a pattern emerges. The enemies change. The stories change. The outrage remains. Dangerous people like this are not unlucky. They are stimulated by conflict. Drama gives them identity. It gives them energy. It gives them something to control. They thrive on emotional intensity, on reactions, on pulling others into their storms. Notice how conversations with them rarely end calmly. There is always urgency, always a sense that something must be addressed right now, always pressure to react, choose sides, or feel offended on their behalf. This is not passion, it is dependency. They depend on emotional chaos because silence forces self-reflection, and self-reflection threatens the narrative they live inside. From a Stoic perspective, this is where discipline matters most. Epictetus taught that events themselves do not disturb us. Our judgments about them do. A person who lives in constant conflict is trying to outsource their inner disorder to the world around them. The Stoic response is not to fix the situation. It is not to calm them down. It is not to win the argument. The response is non-participation. You refuse to be emotionally recruited. You listen without absorbing. You acknowledge without reacting. You do not mirror their intensity. You do not escalate. You do not chase resolution where none is wanted. Because here is the hard truth. If someone always has drama in their life and you stay close long enough, you will eventually become part of it. Not because you did something wrong, but because proximity makes you available. A Stoic understands that peace is not passive, it is protected. You protect it by choosing which conflicts deserve your energy and which do not. You protect it by stepping back from emotional whirlpools instead of trying to control them. Calm is not a weakness, it is sovereignty, and a man who refuses to live inside other people's chaos keeps his strength intact. Sign 7. They isolate you from other perspectives. This sign doesn't appear as control at first, it appears as a concern. They question your friends, they criticize your family, they suggest that others don't really understand you. At first, it feels protective. They say they're looking out for you. They frame it as loyalty. But slowly, your world begins to shrink. They comment on who you spend time with. They plant doubt about advice you receive. They make subtle remarks that turn outside perspectives into threats. That friend doesn't want what's best for you. Your family is holding you back. People are jealous of your potential. This is not guidance, it is isolation. Dangerous people want to become your primary reference point, not because they care more, but because influence is easier when alternatives disappear. Over time, you start to filter decisions through their voice. You hesitate to share concerns with others. You stop seeking outside feedback, and when disagreement arises, you feel alone. This is one of the most serious red flags in long-term relationships, whether personal or professional. Isolation weakens judgment, it distorts reality, it increases dependency. Stoic philosophy values perspective. Marcus Aurelius wrote that truth becomes clearer when examined from many angles. A mind that only hears one voice is no longer reasoning, it is complying. Notice how a healthy person reacts to your independence. They encourage broader connections. They respect differing opinions. They don't fear you thinking for yourself. A dangerous person reacts differently. They feel threatened when you seek advice elsewhere. They become defensive when their influence is questioned. They frame disagreement as betrayal. The Stoic response is awareness and resistance. You maintain contact with people who challenge you. You protect access to alternative viewpoints. You do not allow one person to become the sole authority over your perception. Strength grows through contrast. Clarity grows through dialogue. When someone tries to narrow your world, they are not protecting you. They are positioning themselves. A man who preserves multiple perspectives preserves his freedom. Isolation is not intimacy. It is control. Sign 8. They test how much you will tolerate. This sign is about escalation, and it almost always begins quietly. At first, it's something small, a comment that feels slightly disrespectful, a favor that crosses a line, a request that ignores your time or energy. You tell yourself it's not worth addressing. You let it slide. You stay calm. That's exactly what they're watching. Dangerous people pay close attention to what you tolerate. Not what you say, not what you believe, but what you allow without consequence. When there is no response, the behavior grows. What was once a small boundary violation becomes a pattern. What feels minor becomes normalized. And slowly, the line moves. They interrupt more. They demand more. They take more. This isn't accidental. It's a test. Each tolerated violation answers a silent question. How far can I go with this person? And if the answer keeps coming back as further, the behavior escalates. Many men confuse tolerance with strength. They believe endurance proves character. They believe staying quiet is discipline. Stoic philosophy disagrees. Strength is not how much you can endure. Strength is how clearly you define what you will not accept. Marcus Aurelius wrote that dignity comes from ruling oneself, not from absorbing mistreatment. Endurance without wisdom becomes self-neglect. A dangerous person benefits when you mistake patience for virtue, because patience without boundaries becomes permission. The Stoic reminder is simple. Tolerance is not strength. Clarity is. The correct response is not emotional. It's not aggressive. It's decisive. You address the behavior early. You limit access. You change your availability. You don't wait for escalation to justify action. You respond to patterns, not intentions. Because once escalation becomes obvious, damage has already been done. A Stoic understands that protecting one's limits early prevents conflict later. That saying no once is easier than saying stop after resentment builds. If someone repeatedly pushes after small allowances, believe what they're showing you. They are not misunderstanding you, they are measuring you. And a man who knows his limits does not need to prove his strength by tolerating disrespect. He proves it by refusing to carry what was never his to bear. Sign 9. They lack genuine empathy. This sign is easy to miss because it often wears a convincing mask. They may say the right words, they may ask the right questions, they may appear attentive in moments that matter publicly. But when real pain shows up, something is missing. They acknowledge suffering without feeling it. They respond correctly, but coldly. Their concern sounds rehearsed, not present. You may notice that your struggles become inconvenient to them. They listen briefly, then redirect the conversation. They grow impatient when emotions last longer than expected. Support feels shallow, conditional, or transactional. This is not an emotional reserve. It is an emotional absence. Dangerous people can imitate empathy when it benefits them. They understand what empathy looks like, but they do not experience it as a shared human response. As a result, your pain becomes data, something to observe, sometimes even something to use later. You may feel strangely alone even while being heard. Your words land, but they don't sink in. Your feelings are acknowledged, but not held. Stoic philosophy teaches emotional discipline, not emotional numbness. The Stoics valued compassion grounded in reason. They understood that lacking empathy creates moral distance. Marcus Aurelius warned against becoming hardened inside. A person who cannot feel the suffering of others loses perspective and restraint. The Stoic response to this sign is not to demand empathy. You cannot teach someone to feel. The response is emotional distance. You stop oversharing. You stop expecting understanding. You stop placing vulnerable parts of yourself in their care. This is not punishment, it is protection. A lack of empathy means a lack of internal brakes. Without those brakes, people act in ways that benefit themselves without fully grasping the cost to others. You adjust your proximity accordingly. A Stoic does not hate such people. He does not try to change them. He simply limits exposure, because empathy is not optional in close relationships. It is foundational. When someone consistently fails to feel what others feel, trust cannot deepen. Only risk can. And a man who values clarity understands this. Not everyone deserves access to your inner life. Distance is not coldness, it is wisdom. Sign 10. Your body feels alert around them. This final sign is the one most people ignore. Not because it's unclear, but because it can't be easily explained. Your body tightens when they enter the room. Your shoulders tense. Your breathing changes. You feel a quiet pressure, even when nothing outward is wrong. There is no obvious threat, no harsh words, no visible conflict, and yet you are not at ease. This is not a weakness. It is perception. Long before the mind creates explanations, the body notices patterns, tone shifts, micro-expressions, inconsistencies between words and intention. Your nervous system reacts faster than your reasoning. You may feel a heaviness after speaking with them, a lingering tension you can't shake, a sense of being on guard, even during casual moments. Many men are taught to dismiss this, to override instinct with logic, to tell themselves they're imagining things. Stoic philosophy never encouraged denial. It encouraged observation. Marcus Aurelius wrote about noticing impressions before agreeing with them. The Stoic approach is not to panic, but not to ignore. Your body's alertness is an impression. It is data, not a verdict. The mistake is to either blindly follow it or completely suppress it. The Stoic lens is balanced. You don't accuse. You don't react emotionally. You don't create stories. You observe. You ask, what behaviors support this feeling? What patterns repeat? What happens to my clarity when I'm around this person? When intuition aligns with repeated behavior, it becomes insight. Dangerous people often create subtle psychological pressure, not through aggression, but through unpredictability. Your body stays alert because it cannot anticipate safety. That constant readiness is not sustainable. The Stoic response is distance and discipline. You limit exposure. You slow engagement. You protect your energy without dramatizing the reason. Because peace is not something you argue for. It is something you choose. A man who trusts reason while respecting instinct becomes hard to manipulate. He does not live in fear. He lives in awareness. When your body stays tense around someone, don't rush to silence it. Listen carefully. Then let reason decide what access that person deserves. Awareness begins in the body. Wisdom decides the response. Today, we covered 10 evident signs, not to make you fearful, but aware. Danger rarely announces itself with violence or chaos. More often, it enters quietly through patterns we ignore, excuses we accept, and instincts we silence. Stoic philosophy was never about paranoia. It was about clarity, discipline, and self-command. You cannot control other people. You cannot force them to change, to take responsibility, or to respect your limits. But you always control your response. You always control your boundaries, your attention, and your proximity. That is where real power lives. Now, here is the practice. Choose one relationship in your life, personal or professional. Without judgment or drama, review it through 3 of the strongest signs you learned today. Not to accuse, not to confront, but to see clearly. If adjustment is needed, adjust quietly. Reduce access, strengthen boundaries, withdraw emotional energy where it is not respected. Stoicism does not demand confrontation. It demands alignment. Thank you for taking the time to strengthen your awareness and your character. Your attention is valuable, and choosing to invest it in self-mastery is never wasted. I'll see you in the next video, where we continue training the Stoic mind, where we refine judgment, discipline emotion, and build inner strength that does not depend on external approval. Remember this: awareness is protection, self-control is power.